Welcome back, guys. My name is Jom Adrian Batas, or also known as J.A. Batas. I'm the Wattpad author of the epic fantasy series The Archipelago, featuring the first book, Blood and Gold. If you wanted to read the book, the link is in the description. Chapter 2, in the perspective of Sir Salagor Makaela, entitled The Garrick. The Lord of Battleships, Rion Orison. Men look up to him to bow first. The breeze of the sea is blowing mixed with the smoke of shouting soldiers and commanders training the recruits. Seashores erected with the banner of the country itself. The sea serpent and the shakars ravaging the barrier of the sea it crosses its path. The training recruits, together with the high lord commanders, were in a small dry field, filled with the wooden swords scattered beside the castle's grand stairs. There are two men faces each other, a recruit of the Shakars. The recruit in the lower portion is heavily armored with fresh, polished metal helmet, greaves, and a pair of sollerets, the chest plate heavy as their heated blade begin to rise. Pair by pair they train, wrestle to acquire the means of maritime hand-to-hand combats as they dominate the ships. The headman takes a stare as two of them exchange blows of the wooden swords affixed in their fiery hands. It gets on and on. The claps and groan keeps roaring. Cracks of wood and bang of flesh as each of the place swords hit them in their heads. There are hordes of men in every corner as they wait their turn for the training camp, crowded amongst watchers with the highest titles and wreaking havoc, hearing their voices commanding them how to join the greatest clan has ever been built. To be one of the soldiers of the Garrick, soldiers of the northern summit must never yield. "Come on, Brad, get up! Take the hit!" said Morris. Morris na Aaron, in collusion with the active commander covered with salt of sweat, the broad man known by many, named as Otter Vidal, sealed its fate onwards, onto the Valor as a strength of bear. Their fortress recruits get the slash and bang onto the armor. His bloodmate Brad was having a hard time to get onto his 2 feet. His knees are killing him slowly. The pain never flew from the blow that even the pollane that was built with smooth metal was enough to protect them. "Get up, will you? Pick up the wooden sword with your mouth. Drop the irons. Pick up one of the steel bars beside the ramp. Follow Lord Otter Vidal in the seashores. Move your asses!" shouted Lord Orison. Lord Rayon Orison commanded Bradley Mirican, stranded on the ground. He sparred with his brother, Aaron Mirican, who was wanted to dive into the depths of life and death. Two of them are beaten, bruised up from their forearms and slim faces. Lord Rion commanded, with savagery on the recruits. A naked knight, perhaps, what they call it, has seen wearing the typical brown shorts, leglet, and black jerkins to sheath their bruised bodies. The Garrick Castle was known for its history and indestructible build despite its ancient form. A black structure with 6 guarded battlements, left side facing the dazzle of the sun and beam of the moon by the sky on the other. The portcullis fading color, and above the moving gates was a hanging flag of blue representing a sea dragon, half submerged into the depths biting on what appears to be a black sword. "Move! Move! Move!" shouted Otter, as he commanded. They ran on the stiff ramp as they heard the commander ordered them to charge. They bolted their loose feet at a ramp rock carrying a 25-kilogram iron bar, then dived onto the ice-cold water of the Riela port. The chills came through the pain of contusion. They can feel the rushing amount of blood down every red patches and wound, a sign of relief as the pain claws away their bodies as they go into the water. The commander, Otter Vidal, was also granted the title a Grand Arcater. All men of Shahar who was a Grand Arcater must wear black tight shoes, surcoats, and sabatons during battle, as order of their two Lord Admirals in terms of battle. There are specially designed heavy iron helmet restricted below the chin was made, containing a sharp iron tip for deep sea charging and a glass so they can see. The hose behind the helmet extends 600 feet attached to a battleship, so they can get a breathable air without getting blood on the nostrils during wartime. The method of the range on deep waters are implemented way back 30 years ago, making use of the long weapons such as a spear or a halberd that can penetrate the battleship underneath their stealthy attacks, a mission to acquire silent death while it sails. The weapon much longer than a jousting lance, thicker than a pike. The first step of being one of the Shakar is the lung capacity. It is required as when the assassins like them tend to hide from the deep sea corals. They are called stealthy as an anglerfish, but deadly as a shark. "Hold your breath!" commanded Otter. He was still grasping the heavy iron training bar in their hands. And then, "Gulf!" and "Loose!" Being in the tides of war and within the depths of death, there had no sundial, no clock. It is fairly a different side of the world which they do not belong. The order sings its songs, and both men sung unto the water. Then there they felt the freezing cold like a shattered ice biting onto their whole body. The vast emptiness of the terrain was made less distinct, as they would expect when they opened their eyes in the matter of war. Blurry. All it is to hear was the sound of muffling voices above the world, hesitant, pounding on his head as the pressure bare him, while they slowly sink deeper. Dark blue and never-ending void of the sea, many history it reflects upon them, from arrows and great swords ripping the ocean lining, monstrous battleships dashing against one another, swords leaving the hands and blood of the warriors leaving their bodies. Trapped in a bubble of the time past is like hearing, seeing, feeling the great valor of the fallen soldiers having a slumbers within the fishes, lingering beneath the ocean floor where the fate of the dead can meet. Souls of the fallen men and women at arms are haunting below their feet as if the whispering with the great blubber of bittersweet combat they never seen. Fighting the waters itself was then a great challenge, dragging them down the drill holes in the hull to destroy what is conquering their own, and conquering their lives too. Prevail over the liking of the abyss that the soldiers may experience the last descend over and over again. "Rise!" commanded Otter Vidal. The sweet senses of rising solace, the smell of the air in such relief that a man can feel the gaze beyond the blanket of clouds. Above the heaven of gods was a sign of a successful mission. It touched the body in a comfort as they rise up the water. The redness of the face slowly vanished, and the breath of air filled themselves with pleasure. The Grand Orcator, Otter Vidal, sitting on the small black training boat observing the trainees and the time of the immersion. "All right, that is the first segment. Make sure that the iron bar is still in your grasp, boys. Watch me move in the water. When I give you the water helmets, put it on immediately. Sink quickly and move as I do. You understand?" said Otter. "We understood, Commander," replied the recruits. The commander threw 2 water helmets, immediately putting it on in their heads. The helmet must be tight below the chin so the water could suspend. Otter then jumped in the water. The hose for the water training is shorter than what they use in the battle. What they use in the training grounds are just 50 feet and attached to a small boat. Shakar's black battleship, also called the Octopia, to have about 40 attached helmet hose, and to be deployed for them to do the unexpected stealthy assassination. Octopia and the Shakars, the men of the castle Garrick, was charged protecting the islands of Alothea. When the rivals of their own realm made a jointly planned at the lands of men, the Octopia is the last ejected. After years of bold and devastating attacks, the enemy fleet flung all its carnivorous ships at the trembling island, from Carrick to the Splendor Islands. Desperate, the assassins they call it, the naval elites committed their drubbing conquest, calling a horde of 100 against the best to protect their fleet, but none of it survived until the hostile to the massive battleship known as the Octopia. They gripped the bar with both hands, shoulder width, lifted the weapon with a straight elbow, and rose within the tug of the water. The pull of the water can never cease to test their feat of strength. More trainees are on the ground, playing with a wooden sword, scolded like minions being tamed by the wretch. Otter submerged with him. They cannot see him properly. He shifted from one hand and swam as if the heavy dummy was just a stick, grasped in his wrinkly hands, light as a feather. Desperation goes through their mind, as the current was strong. Swim with the heavy weapon, wondering if they are really moving from one spot to another. The Grand Masters of the realm have the perspective of the Shakar's army, and they have said, more men wanted to serve them, more men wanted to give pleasure, more men wanted gold, more wanted to sacrifice their own existence for the sake of the people behind them. But going back in the castle, everyone left the seaside with their iron bars clutch of weary. At the exact moment, a small crescent boat was coming for the port. Recognizable flag waved swift. Soaked dragon remained strong. Rushing in the sand, the bow of the small boat ravaged through the sands, and they made a clear appearance with one of their elite commander, Sir Salagor Makaela, together with the fisherman, Agaal aboard the boat. Under the arch of stone the small boat passes through. It erects about 40 feet and the other range 80, above the ocean where they practice diving. "Good morning, my lords," Agaal said. The fisherman greeted the army and the recruits with a smile. The Lord Admiral, Sir Rion Orison, halted everyone. He greeted both men as a respect for their duties. Then he said, "Exact time, eh?" And he announced, "All right, since we are all here, I received a letter from the Grand Council. We're heading south for Lordaeral Castle as a new man or a lady is going to sit on the dragon throne. And it is said on the letter that the king doesn't have an heir. No one will inherit the throne except we vote for one. Pack your shit up. The council is waiting for our guidance. And before I finish this," he nods from Salagor to the Lord Orcator. He gave the letter to Otter Vidal, and everyone engaged in fixed stare to the Lord Orcator himself. "Commanders, listen up! Form your platoon in 2 columns within the drawbridge. 10 soldiers and 5 commanders will remain to train the recruits until we return." Going down with Agaal, everyone greets the man with such valor. A seal in his chest, a seal of a pointed sword. "It seems that you have much recruits, Sir Rion. I never seen this many desperate men try to fight for our land before. The sea is crowded with brave men, I see. New faces. Oh well, I brought plenty of fishes for all of you. We can save it for the rest of the day," Salagor concluded as he stepped out of the boat to meet the lone Lord Orcator. And Agaal takes hold of the nets of the fishes. Others helped him to carry the nets and the pouch of gold that is too astonishing to look at. "You both extracted all of this," Lord Rion complimented, with a slight confusion, with his intimidating glance with a mix of stupefaction in them. "Yes, my lord, with bare hands as well," with a proud tone of voice said Agaal. They fled to the barracks with 1 net of fish and 5 stones of gold still dripping, oddly, with blood, for the blacksmith to make it as nakele. Nakele, a currency being refurbished, as pretty as what there is beneath the sea. Amongst one of the most powerful armed men of Alothea, they have also needed the powerful words to speak. Agaal came up to him after we settled the nest inside the barracks storehouse above the soldiers' stable of the castle in a hurry. Then there is Salagor feeling weary. Truthfully, I don't remember anything. The only thing I remember is we catch fish before the morning comes. And by the way, I apologize for sleeping, letting you fish and mine gold by yourself. May my words market you with acceptance, Agaal." "Oh, Commander Makaela, you've been a good lad after going to the sea with me. There are no worries. I'll never tell Lord Orison that you slept for a while during your service at the sea. Trust me. Let me tell you, a man can gain true vigor when he earns by himself. I still want to give you some of the precious gold, my lord. I don't want lax of you," said him, complimented after he gone down to the stairs, tapping the back of his heavy chestplate as they go. But unfortunately, Salagor did not feel victorious up to the reward he was about to get. He felt shame carried with his back, making him weak. But then he moved on to the night rooms. The castle barracks are not that massive for the folks, as expected for a resplendent magical realm. It was composed of troop stables, officers' stable, cavalry, or a field where they practiced their sword skills and wrestle for bare combats. The cavalry field where most recruits survive and bow for honor or walk, either shame as one of the weakest links to join the forces. The ancient rites of Shakars, the spirit of the fallen had been saved from eternity. But like all who encountered the swords, attacks on the islands, and the dreaded century, they found it beyond recall. No longer at the mercy of a world-born mortal body, the very lifeblood became a fount of staggering power amongst them. They hold not of rusted rakes and pushing wheelbarrows. Everyone is in hilt of sword grips. Few leather of a clothing but a plate of metal bearing. The troop's table is so narrow, filled with hooks, bags, windows, fire torch, and their belongings on every room side by side. The end of the hall is the area where their weapons lay, the arsenal. The smell of horse manure was disgusting. The smell stays in their nostrils even they got out of it. Accolade. Take the armament inside. Make it fast. Lady Accolade, without her visor behind the door, snapped. A presence of a beautiful she-warrior with her red eyes and braided hair. But they know her as a skulk presence of terror, like a blood copy of Lord Orison. Her duty was to make sure every weapon is polished, never any iron rusted and lost, counted as from taken and to return. The female warriors of the realm targets for political or mercenary reasons, in both genders. If they are sworn to be, a figure of great power is no more likely to be eliminated than a peasant. Their killings bear on commands of a ruler, a man who passed the sentence. As fast as they needed, Salagor took his shield with a black dragon rising up from the blue water, faded by near in one's dotage. Agaal went to his little back in the middle of the cobblestone hall and reached for his dagger. Silky, bulky, and the metal alloy looked small but its ends was sharp, for which it was a Slarkine dagger. The stems and weeds in the verge of grip and a scale of a fish underneath it. A secret of him finally revealed to his close comrade. Salagor in curiosity asked, "Where did he find it, and how much does it cost?" And Agaal replied, "My brother gave me this one 3 years ago. He was the Lord Orcator in Castle Garrick once. He fought with our allies. It was years back then. I did not know where did he find this. But one thing for sure is that this precious than any other gold you'll find. He's ashamed for once. He must be the one who died before the others. And I am nervous for the fact that now he's fighting for the throne, after he got thrown off the stead of the Garrick being one of the highest lords." Commander Salagor was filled with surprise. It was the first thing he heard from his closest of friends' brother to get along the highest kingdom authorization. They are walking slowly on the fences of the castle, many soldiers running downstairs to grab the necessary things to prepare for the stone voting. In their bags and hold a grasp on their arsenal. He made it stay behind the scabbard for no one will take it from him. Be thankful instead, you see. If your brother got him seat on that precious royal seat, you'll be a prince, aren't you? Said Salagor, wishing him to be the very. He was being sarcastic and laughed. "Well, it's the time where I also get money and woman, you know. Like that accolade girl. I just wanna lay her in the bed and pick her with one of my sword, sip wine and fuck bitches," Agaal said. The laugh goes on until we go before the open iron gates. Salagor was armored same as his fellow men. White coursers as his ride together with his fellow commanders, Maurice na Aaron, Otter Vidal, and the masters of the barracks. Agaal got black Ramsey for soldiers or lower ranked. He's ashamed, since he gave deep pockets from his wrinkled hands, nets of fishes, and stones of gold. He doesn't deserve it, he thought. The higher ranked knights such as Lord Rion got his brown palfrey, a sign of power. speared guardsmen staring at him as he walked past the 20-foot gate at the portcullis, high up and heavy. Followed by his men at the back carrying long swords on a column. Columns of archers on horseback should have swept the road before the army makes way into the east road. The banners they see are high up blue. The face of fearlessness comes through the valley as they are about to meet the new man or lady to clean up the mess within the kingdom. "What is this you gave me?" he whispered to Otter. Agaal throwing off the balance as he expected for it to be a grandiose armored stallion, such as the Lord Admiral's. "A horse, sir," Otter replied. "You can take one if you want. Just complain to the Lord Orcator and he will lend you one. Would you?" The tough, long-haired man responded calmly beside him. Agaal didn't even notice. No, sir. I apologize. It's just for me. My thoughts is just for me. It just seems to not fit for what I did last time, you see. I gave you fish and golds, and this is the horse that you gave me?" Agaal responded. "Ranks, not golds," Otter replied aggressively. And he continued, "Gold does not give you what you always wanted until you did something worth sacrificing for. The horse we are riding, the sword, the weapon, the armor, not all achievement came from our pockets, from your pocket. It is earned by your hard work as a fellow man of the country.